Hello learners, welcome to this another class on investment decisions. If you remember, I hope you remember that in the previous two lessons we have discussed about basic concept of investment decisions, that is capital budgeting techniques. We also learnt about non-discounted cash flow techniques, that is payback period method and ARR method. And we also practiced few numerical questions on payback period calculation and ARR calculation. Now today is the turn for discounted cash flow techniques. That means such capital budgeting methods in which time value of money is considered. As you know, money changes its value over the time scale. That means to say, whatever is the purchasing power of rupees 100 today, same might not remain the purchasing power of rupees 100 year after or 2 years after. Reason is inflation, number one, risk, number two, and always remember, investor who is investing his money, company who is investing his money in a project requires some return, some compensation for waiting also, because whatever money is being invested today, it can be used elsewhere also or somewhere else also. So therefore, always remember, anyone who is making an investment, he will require certain rate of return. So let us proceed to understand discounted cash flow techniques. Before that, let us look at the things. Investment appraisal methods, or popularly known as capital budgeting techniques. Two categories are there: non-discounted cash flow techniques or methods and discounted cash flow methods. Under non-discounted, payback period method we practiced, ARR method, that is average rate of return or accounting rate of return, that also we practiced. Under discounted cash flow techniques, we will be understanding three methods. Although there are many more methods also, but for your course curriculum, only these three are relevant. What are these three? NPV, that is net present value method, profitability index method, also known as benefit cost ratio method, and lastly internal rate of return, that is IRR method. Now let us practice the first method, NPV method. Before that, let me give you what are the steps for calculating NPV. If I define NPV, that is net present value. Net present value is the difference between sum total of present value of future cash inflow minus sum total of present value of cash outflow. It means to say, whatever are the cash inflow likely to be generated from a project, that is operating cash inflow as well as terminal cash inflow, you have to estimate that. You have to estimate cash outflow, that is investment in fixed assets, land, building, plant, machinery, as well as investment in working capital. So step number one is finding out cash outflow. Initial cash outflow it may be, or subsequent cash outflow. Step number two, estimating cash inflow, operating cash inflow as well as terminal cash inflow. Then step number three will come, whatever cash inflow are there, in general, in majority of the questions you will find cash inflow comes in future time, that is from 1 year onwards. So calculate present value of these cash inflows and sum up. That means PV of operating cash inflow plus PV of terminal cash inflow is summed up. Then we have already cash outflow with us. Also calculate present value of cash outflow. Generally, if cash outflow is taking place at 0 time, so its present value remains the same. For example, if we are investing 50 lakh rupees in a project today, so its present value is 50 lakhs. However, some of the cash outflow might be at a future date also. In that case, whatever subsequent cash outflow is there, calculate PV of that also and make a sum of that. So you have two results with you. Sum total of present value of cash inflow and sum total of present value of cash outflow. Once we have taken these two steps, we will go further calculating net present value. Net present value is simply sum total of PV of cash inflow minus sum total of PV of cash outflow. Now why we are doing like that? If suppose cash outflow in a project is 50 lakh rupees and present value of that cash outflow is so cash outflow in a project is 50 lakh rupees and present value of that cash outflow is 50 lakhs. So your sum total of PV of cash outflow is 50 lakhs. From your pocket 50 lakh rupees has been invested in that one and all the cash inflow will come in future. So whatever cash inflow comes in future, we will be calculating present value of that. Now question comes, at what discount rate we should calculate the present value? Because for calculating present value, we need discount rate. Now this discount rate is either the required rate of return on the investment, or we can say minimum acceptable return. We can say cost of capital, whatever it may be there. For example, if you are starting this project by investing 50 lakhs and your expectation is that you want to earn 20% return on your investment, then definitely whatever future cash inflows are generated, you will be calculating present value of those cash inflow using 20% discount rate. Let us assume present value of those cash inflows at the rate of 20% is 80 lakh rupees. This simply implies that if you make an investment in that project, NPV of the project will be 30 lakhs. Now, how do we interpret this 30 lakhs? It means as of today, you have invested 50 lakhs and present value of future cash inflow is 80 lakhs. So you will be in surplus by 30 lakhs after covering your cost of capital 20%. It means your return will be more than 20%. Your return will be more than 20%. On the other hand, suppose an alternative situation takes place. What is the alternative situation? Let us say present value of cash outflow is 80 lakhs and present value of cash inflow is also at 80 lakhs. And you have used 20% discount rate. Now what is your NPV? Net present value is 0. However, this project is also acceptable. Reason being, if you make investment in this project and you have used 20% discount rate for calculating present value, that means you are earning 20% return on your investment year on year till the life of the project. So if NPV is 0, it means your return on investment is equal to whatever discount rate you have used for calculating NPV. If NPV is positive, you will be generating a return more than the discount rate. However, scenario may be like this. Outflow PV is 90 lakhs, but inflow PV is 80 lakhs. It means your NPV is negative 10 lakhs and I am keeping the same discount rate 20%. This simply implies that if you invest in this project, you will be incurring losses. Losses in the sense, you will not be earning 20% return, which was your expected rate of return or which you were expecting from your investment. So always remember, if NPV is negative, project is not desirable from the viewpoint that you will not be earning the return equal to the discount rate. So take care, that is the decision rule when we apply the NPV. So simple definition of NPV, you can see that NPV is sum total of present value of cash inflow minus present value of cash outflow. While calculating present value of cash inflow, calculate present value of both operating cash inflow as well as present value of terminal cash inflow. Similarly, while calculating present value of cash outflow, calculate present value of initial investment as well as subsequent investment. present value of initial investment is equal to the whatever money we have spent it. So let us proceed further on practicing some of the numericals on this particular concept. So that is the formula wise presentation, although I have explained that. But if you pay the attention on this part, what this particular scale is being shown. Because NPV is largely dependent upon two things: the discount rate and the flow of money. And number three, in some cases, timing. So generally timing may be ignored or not, but yes, flow of money has to be considered, discount rate has to be considered. Now this particular scale is being shown. If you decrease the discount rate, if you lower the discount rate, present value or NPV will increase. And if you increase the discount rate, NPV will decrease. That is being shown in this scale. Because present value has an inverse relationship with the rate. If you increase the rate, present value declines. If you decrease the rate, present value will increase. So that is the simple thing you have to keep into consideration while attempting certain MCQs or multiple choice questions. Let us proceed further. So these are the steps I have already explained to you. Estimate cash outflow, estimate cash inflow, calculate PV of cash outflow as well as cash inflow, both the cash flows, and apply this formula to calculate NPV. And decision rule I have told you, projects which have got NPV 0 or more than 0, that is positive NPV, are acceptable, else they are rejected. Now if you see, we have one small example. A project costs 36,000 and it is expected to generate inflow of 11,200 annually for 5 years. Calculate NPV if discount rate is 12%. Now take the steps. So my only submission is that never bypass the steps. Never make the shortcuts. Step number 1, estimate cash outflow. So cash outflow is in short written as CO. How much is the project cost? 36,000. A project is expected to cost 36,000. So implied meaning is that at 0 time 36,000 will be spent. So that is step number 1. Step number 2. It is expected to generate cash inflow. That means we are straightway given the final answer of cash inflow. We need not to work out anything else. We are given cash flow after tax. Every year, so cash flow after tax is 11,200 per annum for 5 years. That is step number 2. What discount rate is given? 12%. So simply what we need to do, take the time value table, and in this case you can see 11,200 every year received for 5 years becomes like an annuity. So calculate present value of that. So step number 3 is calculating present value of both cash outflow and cash inflow. Now present value of cash outflow is 36,000. Because whatever you spend in the beginning, its present value remains the same. Now PV of cash inflow is simply apply the formula of present value of an annuity. I am simply giving a recap of the formula. Since 11,200 is in the form of an annuity, so we have annuity amount multiplied with PVI FA at certain rate for nth period. So what I get? 11,200 times this factor I have to calculate. Either I can calculate using 12% given discount rate, or I can Select the factor from the time value table, that is present value of an annuity. So let us apply the formula. What is the formula to calculate it? You can see that it is 1 minus 1 upon 1 plus r raised to the power of n and whole thing divided by r. So that is the formula to calculate present value interest factor for an annuity. So if I plug in the values now, 1 minus 1 upon 1.12 because my rate is 12% and duration is 5 years. Result of that equation is divided by 0.12. So again a recap I will give you how to solve this particular equation. Always remember, make a solution of this particular part first. So what you will be getting? 1 minus result of that particular part. So 1 divided by 1.12 raised to the power of 5, you get it 0.567. And now deduct this 0.567 from 1 and whatever result you get it. So 1 minus 0.567, that is 0.433, will be divided by 0.12. 0.433 divided by 0.12, you get it 3.608. So 3.608 is the present value of annuity of rupee 1 received continuously for 5 years at the rate of 12%. However, now we are getting 11,200. So this factor is 3.608. And how much we are getting every year? 11,200. So if you multiply 3.608 with 11,200, you get 40,409.6. So that is present value of cash inflows. Now we can go to the last step. So you can see the step. Step number 1, calculate cash outflow. Step number 2, calculate cash inflow which were given to us. Step number 3, we calculated present value of cash outflow as well as present value of cash inflow. Present value of cash outflow remains the same 36,000 because it is being spent at 0 time. However, inflow comes in future. You can see since 11,200 received every year for 5 years. So we get it as an annuity. Present value of that annuity is 40,409.6. Now the last step, NPV. So what is NPV? NPV is 40,409.6 minus 36,000. 4409.6. Definitely it is positive. The moment NPV is 0 or positive, we accept this project. Positive NPV simply implies if 36,000 rupees is invested in this project, return will be more than 12%. Return will be more than 12%. So you might be thinking it is a small amount, 36,000, but yes, it may be 36,000 trillion, billion and something else. So always mechanism is the same, amount hardly matters. So this is the way NPV is calculated. Always remember, if NPV is negative, project is rejected. One more thing to remember, if you increase the discount rate, NPV will come down. So in this numerical, I will give a submission to you that try the same numerical by using different rates like 8%, 10%, 14%, 20%, 30%. So somewhere you will find negative NPV also. Somewhere you will find negative NPV also. So that will give you a feel or practice that yes, there is a relationship between NPV, that is present value, and the discount rate. And relationship is inverse relationship. Let us proceed further. So that was the practice on calculation of NPV. Now, when we calculate NPV, we always consider absolute value. It means sometimes NPV method might not give a correct decision. Why it might not give a correct decision? Now look at the fact. If I give an example to you, or we can coin an example right now. What example I am going to put it? Let us say there are two competing projects, project A and project B. PV of cash outflow is 10 lakh, 11 lakh. And PV of cash inflow is 10 lakh 50,000, that is 10.5 lakhs, and it is 11.6 lakhs. Calculate NPV. So we have two steps taken already, PV of cash outflow for both the projects, PV of cash inflow for both the projects. Now we calculate NPV. 0.50 lakhs, 0.60 lakhs. Now at this juncture, what we get a feel? We are going to get a feel that yes, as per NPV rule, whenever project ranking has to be done, it means we are considering more than one project, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Highest NPV will be given the first rank. Second highest will be given the second rank. In this case, first preference will be project B and second preference will be project A. Projects with negative NPV are straightway rejected or outrightly rejected. So when we have to give a ranking as per NPV method, project with the highest positive NPV will be given first rank, then the second highest and then the third highest. So in this case, we have considered absolute value of NPV, absolute value of NPV. Now come to the point. If third project is also there, let us say project C, in which we are investing 20 lakhs. NPV is not 11 lakh, but it is 20.7 lakhs. I ask you to calculate NPV again. So what NPV you get for the project C? 0.7 lakhs. Now we have three projects, so ranking will change. What ranking we are going to give this project as? First rank, second rank and third rank. So now with us example is project A, B and C, and we have to choose a project as per NPV criteria. So we will devote our attention to project C. However, since we are considering absolute values, therefore it may not be advised to go for project C only on the basis of absolute value. Look at the fact. By investing 10 lakh, how much you are getting extra? 0.5 lakh. By investing 20 lakh, how much you are getting extra? 0.7 lakh. That is NPV. Now, whether that 0.7 is sufficient or not, we have to see that. Reason being, your extra investment as compared to A in C is 10 lakh. And on that extra investment, how much you are going to get extra? 0.2 lakhs. That means to say, if you are given a liberty that you can choose two projects of A type, what will be your total investment in two A type projects? 20 lakhs. And what will be your total NPV? 0.5 multiplied by 2, that is 1 lakh. Whereas in C, if you invest 20 lakhs, how much is your positive NPV? 0.7 lakhs. It means giving first rank to C is not advised. Reason being, your total investment is 20 lakhs and how much total NPV you are getting? 0.7. However, if you select two projects of type A, that means you are commissioning two plants of type A, your total investment will be 20 lakhs and your total NPV will be 1 lakh. It means this decision will be wiser to go for two plant of type A instead of going one plant of type C. So that is the drawback of NPV method. So what I have explained you? I have explained you the lacuna or drawback of NPV method. It considers only the absolute value. Then you might say, what is the solution? Solution is there, my dear learners. Solution is either use profitability index method or use IRR method. So let us proceed further how this lacuna, how this drawback of NPV is overcome under profitability index method. Profitability index method or benefit cost ratio method. Profitability index simply means how much present value we are going to get back for every 1 rupee which has been invested in the project. That means to say, now we are not considering the total value of 10 lakh, 20 lakh and 50 lakhs for evaluation purpose. Total investment, total cash flow will be considered, but when it comes to take the decision, we will say how much company is going to get back in terms of present value for every 1 rupee which has been invested in the project. So now, for example, I say there are two projects, project A and project C. We will calculate profitability index of both the projects. Hypothetically, if I say in project, if you make whatever investment 200 crore, 500 crore rupees, for every 1 rupee or against every 1 rupee of investment, you are going to get back 1 rupee 10 paisa. Whereas in project C, whatever may be the investment, for every 1 rupee invested, you are going to get back 1 rupee and 8 paisa. So which one is better according to you? Definitely A, because for every 1 rupee you are going to get back 1 rupee 10 paisa, so extra 10 paisa. Whereas in C you are going to get only extra 8 paisa for every 1 rupee, and that too after considering time value of money. So profitability index simply means after considering time value of money, how much company is going to get back in terms of present value for every 1 rupee of investment in the project. That is benefit cost ratio or profitability index. Now question comes how to calculate it. Steps are simple. Step number 1, estimate cash outflow. Step number 2, estimate cash inflow. Step number 3, calculate present value of cash outflow separately, calculate present value of cash inflow separately. Then last step comes. Gross profitability index is equal to present value of cash inflow, that is sum total of present value of cash inflow divided by sum total of present value of cash outflow. This will give you for every 1 rupee of cash outflow, how much cash inflow you are going to get in terms of present value or after considering present value. And decision rule is simple. The moment gross profitability index exceeds 1, gross profitability index exceeds 1, we will accept it. Even if it is 0, we will accept the project. Because 0 gross profitability index means we are going to earn the return equal to the discount rate used for calculating time value or present value. The same formula can be further extended. We can calculate net profitability index, which is equal to gross profitability index minus 1. And project will be accepted the moment gross net profitability index is 0 or positive. If net profitability index is negative, do not accept the project. Do not accept the project. It means only difference between profitability index and NPV method with reference to the application of the method is simply last step. In that, NPV was difference between these two. In this case, sum total of PV of cash inflow is divided by sum total of PV of cash outflow. So we will practice one small numerical on that, and that will be complete course in this particular session, and next session will be devoted to IRR method. So if you see what we are given, a project costs 36,000 and is expected to generate cash inflow of 11,200 annually for 5 years. Calculate profitability index. Same numerical is there. We calculated NPV. Now how do we calculate profitability index? First of all, cash outflow is 36,000. Cash inflow is 11,200 per annum for 5 years. Step number 3, calculate PV of cash outflow. So it remains 36,000. Calculate PV of cash inflow. We have just calculated in the previous slide. So summation PV of cash inflow was 40,409.60. Now the last step. Plug in the values into the profitability index formula. So gross profitability index. Gross PI equals to 40,409.6 divided by 36,000. So if you do it, we get it 1.12. Since gross profitability index is positive as well as more than 1, it is more than 1, project is acceptable. This simply implies that for every rupee 1 which has been invested in this project, the investor or the company is going to get back rupee 1.12 after considering present value of money. And present value of money we have calculated at 12%. You can try out the numerical using different rates. Result will be before you for the interpretation purpose. So that is the way we can calculate profitability index. So in this lesson we have learnt about NPV method as well as profitability index method. So practice both the methods. Remember the steps. In this lesson only this much. In next lesson we will learn about IRR method and then subsequently practice about all the methods. Wish you good luck.